I think if you ask any young woman in her 20s whether the gym was the right place to try to meet your mate, they'd probably say no way, right? If you've been to the gym lately and you see women there, especially the young ones, they got their earbuds in, they got their hoodies on, they got their baseball hats on, they are all about business. That is not the place for them to be looking for a date. But I'm a big proponent of that idea because that is where I met my husband. So let me break it down for you. It was, y'all, it's not a steady stage here. Watch out. It's 1994. I had just broken up with my long-term boyfriend, and I was new to Northern Virginia, and I was feeling kind of lonely and frumpy, and I thought, I'm gonna join a gym. So I joined the closest gym to me, down off of Duke Street in Alexandria. It was Bally's Gym. Anybody know Bally's? So if you don't know Bally's, some of you don't know Bally's, you gotta marry the tackiest disco that you can think of with the seediest gym you can think of and put them together. Bally's had neon pink signs and red carpet and mirrors everywhere, mirrors on the walls, on the ceiling. And it was what we would call back then a real meat market, right? In fact, it was such a meat market that they actually had to have a separate room for ladies to work out in so they could feel safe and not ogled at while they were working out. So I started going, and my idea was I'm gonna dedicate myself here, and I started off by just walking an hour as fast as I could with my Walkman on, and I did that for a couple of weeks, and then I went into the ladies' gym and I did a couple of bicep curls here and there. And after about 3 or 4 months, I started to feel really good and I started to look better. And I went from walking to the stair stepper, and I was on there for 30 minutes and then 45 minutes and then an hour. And then I was lifting a little bit more, and I was really feeling good. They had this little area right by the door where you could, mirrors of course, where you could stretch and do some ab work, and which I did at the end of my workouts. And this one day there was this big, strapping, muscular black man there, sitting there. And he says to me, "You're eating too much bread." And I'm like, "What now?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's the bread." He's like, "You gotta cut down on the bread and eat more protein. You're gonna see more definition." And back then, y'all, bread was good and protein was bad, right? So I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I went and picked up a copy of Muscle and Fitness and started reading and getting serious, and he was right. So I cut down on the bread, I picked up on the protein, and maybe a couple weeks later, really feeling good, really dropping even more weight. And he says to me, he's there all the time, he says to me, "You wanna work out together?" And I was like, he's like, "You have the making. You could maybe compete if you wanted to compete, and I'm gonna compete, so you can train with me." And I was like, "Giddy up. Okay, let's do this." So he and I start working out together, and big as he was also big in personality. So when we go into the gym together, he's the loudest guy in there. When he works out, he's that guy that's grunting with every set. And when I'm working out, he's the one looking down at me going, yo, move, go boo. He's yelling. And that's how we do. But while the workouts are going well, personal life not going so well. I'm still really lonely, and I'm still trying to date, but one dud after the next dud after the next dud. One guy he gave me his pager number, so I had to page for acceptance. And then another guy was dating 5 other women on the side. Another guy was I find out he was way younger than me when he gets pulled over driving my car for reckless driving, and he has no license. And I'm like, okay. And it brings me to this one Saturday where I'm sitting on the floor of my bedroom, just in tears, crying to my roommate, why can't I just meet one decent guy, Hispanic, one decent guy. And And I even told my roommate, I was like, there's this one guy at the gym that's just so cute, and he looks interesting, and he's got this great smile, and his eyes smile when he smiles, and he has friends, and he's a cute Mickey Mouse t-shirt that he wears when he works out, and I just think he's so cute. And he'd been going every night, just like I had been going every night, except last week he stopped coming. He didn't come Tuesday, and I thought, well, maybe he's sick. He didn't come Wednesday. By Friday, I was like, he's gone. And I sat there on my bedroom floor crying, thinking, that was it. He might have been the one, and I missed it because I didn't say hi. And I swore to myself right then I would never let that happen again. And my roommate said the thing to me that everyone tells you when you're like struggling with love, which is if you just let it go, let it out of your mind, love has a way of finding you when you least expect it, right? We've all heard that. So the next Tuesday, I'm at the gym, I'm on the leg extension machine, and in walks the cute guy who had not been there. And I was like, I ain't missing my chance. And I was like, where have you been? And he does one of these. Who, me? And I was like, yeah, you, where you been? Because I haven't seen you. And he says, oh, well, my mother was in town, and I took a week off of the gym to be with her. And I was like, ding, 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 this is a good guy. This is a good guy. And I was like, all right, well, good, glad you're back. What are you doing tonight? And he's like, I'm gonna work on legs. And I was like, oh, we started flirting. I said, you don't need to work on legs. And he's like, oh, yeah, but I do. And so later that evening, we kept chatting. Back then, nobody had a water bottle, so there was this one water fountain in the corner of the gym, and in between sets, you'd walk over and you'd have a little chit chat, and then you'd go back. And so we go and we do our chit chat, and he's like, so what do you like to do for fun? And I was like, well, I'm recently single. I don't do anything for fun here. And then he goes back and does a set. And next time he's like, well, what would you like to do? And I was like, I don't know, I think I'd like to go dancing, sometime. And he goes back and does, his set. And then he comes back and he's like, well, how about you and I go dancing Friday night? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to, but and seriously, I have plans with my coworker. But I tell you what, if she can't find a babysitter, you and I are going out Friday. It's like, okay. So that was Tuesday night. And we chit-chatted Tuesday, and we chit-chatted Wednesday, and we chit-chatted Thursday, and I was like really excited. And then Friday came, and he was like, what do you know? And I was like, I don't know anything yet, but I'll let you know later. And I gave him my phone number. And we finished working out, 9 p.m. I go home, and he calls me at 10, and he's like, what's the word? And I was like, well, I have bad news for you. And he's like, what? And I was like, well, she couldn't find a babysitter. And there was like this dead silence on the phone. And he's like, well, that's good news for us, right? And I was like, yeah, it is. And he's like, because you can go out now. And I was like, yeah, I can. And he's like, all right, I'm going to pick you up at 11. And he picks me up, and we went to Spy Club in DC. And we danced until the club closed. And we came home, and we talked all night. And within about 2 months, he was living with me and going home just to pay the rent. And within about 2 years, we were married. And he told me, as long as I was working out with that big dude, he was never going to say hi to me. None of the guys, he said, were going to say hi to me. And we've been together, it's been almost 30 years and 30 pounds, and we're still married. So it worked out. Thank you.